One of the most special climbs that I've done in my climbing career is a climb called Takakkaw Falls. It is the second highest waterfall in Canada. That doesn't mean that it's the second highest ice climb in Canada. It just means it's the second highest waterfall. But it is such a cool place. It's such a cool climb. And to get there, it's quite a slog. So I think you guys will enjoy today's episode. It was very, I don't want to call it spiritual, but it was spiritual, right? It was like the sum of everything combined, which I'll share in today's episode, made it one of my favorite days of climbing that I've ever done. What is up, guys? For those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Philip Setter. I'm an avid rock climber, ice climber, and backcountry skier here in Canada. I'm also an insurance broker that specializes in insuring individuals that are engaged in those type of sports. I'll put a link in the description if you want to look more into that. But let's just get right into the episode. Okay, so Takakkaw Falls, I'm just reading off the Wikipedia page here. Takakkaw Falls, it's a waterfall. It's located in Yoho National Park near Field. The falls have a total height of 373 meters, making it the second tallest waterfall in Canada. That's pretty interesting. So the actual climb, I want to say, let's see, we did it in roughly 4 pitches, and each of the pitches were about 7. So let's see, 7, 14, 21. I would say it was about 280 to 300 meters of actual climbing. So there's a little bit. So let me explain kind of how Takakkaw Falls forms and, how it kind of came to me. Let me just get where's my audio thing? There we go. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm still recording. So basically this is what it is. If you don't know Takakkaw Falls, it's in Field, BC. However, what happens is they actually close the road to get to it in the winter because of avalanche risks to the road. And so that road, like, you can normally drive right up to the waterfall in the summer and you can see it and you can walk all around there. But in the winter, they shut the road down. And I want to say it's like this just absolutely brutal. Let me think. I want to say 17 kilometers one way. I want to say that. I think that's something like, because I think it's like 35, 36 kilometers round trip. Something like that. So here's the thing. This thing is flowing all the time, like massively flowing. So you need like bitter cold temperatures to even, get it frozen into an actual ice climb. And like, I mean, who's gonna ski in 17 kilometers to check to see if it's in or not, right? So it doesn't get climbed that often because it's like, it's a pretty long approach to get to it, like 17 kilometers. It doesn't get done that often. It definitely doesn't get done every year. It doesn't get that cold every year. I want to say this was maybe 2021. So we had like this Arctic vortex that came, this polar vortex, that's what they call it, that came over Canada, and everything was freezing. It was like minus 30, minus 40 for like a solid week or two or something like that. And I had this climb on my list to do for quite some time. It was high on my list. I was like, I really want to do this climb. And then finally we had this polar vortex. And so it was like, sweet. Okay. So like once this because I'm not climbing at minus 30, but once this starts to like improve, weather gets a little bit better, like let's head out. So there's a little bit of controversy leading up to this climb and it almost fell apart. So I reached out to 2 of my buddies. Sometimes I find it's hard to find this. That's probably one of the hardest things I find in climbing is finding other people that like really enjoy suffering in climbing. And I know that sounds kind of funny, but I find actually that like a lot of people that go ice climbing or rock climbing or any type of climbing, they're more interested in like the pure climbing point of view, right? Where it's just like, it's close to the road. Let's find something that is easy access. We don't have to go that far. It's not going to be like, a total slog to get in. I'm a little bit different in that regard. I really enjoy all the elements of that climb, right? Like I enjoy the technical climbing, but I also enjoy the environment and I enjoy the suffering. Like I really like to push myself and to do long days with long approaches in. And I like obscure climbs that not too many people do. And, I like to seek out these really, type 2, type 3 fun type of days. And finding partners that are also, willing and excited to suffer that long and to have that big of a day is sometimes quite difficult. Especially in the winter, right? In the summer, it's one thing, long days for sure. But in the winter, it's like, well, it's long days in the bitter cold. Like, that's not incredibly enjoyable. So it's hard to find people that are interested in that. So anyways, I'm trying to organize this expedition to get to Takakkaw Falls. And so I reached out to two of my buddies and I said, like, hey, like, come on, guys, it's game on. It's freezing temperatures. We're going to do it. As soon as it warms up a little bit, when we have a -10, -15 day, let's go. Like, I will clear my schedule. I don't care if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It doesn't matter. We're going 100%. We're going. And so one of them, and I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to talk shit about these people. One of them was like, he's 50-50. He's like, I don't know. He's like, that sounds like a hard day. And I'm like, yeah, dude, but it's going to be an awesome day. Like, just like get into it. Like, get stoked about it. It's going to be a phenomenal day. And the other guy was excited but trepidatious. So the days went on, and the cold snap is nearing to an end, and we're planning it maybe like 3 or 4 days out. And then the news breaks that another party, Chris, Tim Banfield, and Greg, what's his last name? Greg. So I can't remember his last name. Pardon me. Anyways, all phenomenal climbers, and they went in. And they had climbed it, and they made a trip report. And Takakkaw Falls is supposed to be WI4, WI4 plus. And the guy who led the Crux pitch, he commented, and he said the Crux pitch, I want to say he rated it WI6X. I want to say that's what he rated it. I'm not 100% certain, but I think that's what he rated it. So when the news broke, then I was even, and the pictures came up, and there was definitely like one section which looked quite intimidating and steep, and that was the WI6X section, which usually it forms WI4, WI4 plus, and most of the climb was still that WI4 rating. However, there was that one section, probably 30 to 40 meters, which was, probably full on, WI6. So the news broke, that came out, and I text my partners. I'm like, wicked, like, let's go. This is awesome. And the one guy that was 50-50, he's like, no, I'm not going. No, I'm not going. That sounds hard. That sounds, we're not going to do that. And I was like, okay, no worries. And this was like the day before we were supposed to go. So it was like Monday, we're supposed to go Tuesday. And so I'm trying to organize these people together. So then I go to the other guy and I'm like, hey man, this guy already bailed on me. I need to know that you're 100%. And he kind of went back and forth, and he was like, well, he's like, if the day doesn't go as planned, if we're not making good time, maybe we can do some routes along the road. And I was like, no, dude, like 100%. You need to understand, I'm like 1,000,000,000% committed to doing this. I really want this climb. And to be fair to him, like we've talked about it since then. We had a little bit of falling out at the time, but we've talked about it since then and made up. And I totally see his point of view. His point of view is basically like, I don't think either of us can lead that WI6X section. Let's maybe reevaluate and look at something else. I thought it might have been WI4. Anyways, long story short, he ended up saying like he's out, he's not going. And this was Monday, and I was supposed to go Tuesday. I'm just like, fuck. Like, okay, now I'm like, okay, well, like, is it going to warm up? Like, am I going to lose my chance? I've wanted to do this for years now. What do we have to do? And so I'm just like scrambling, messaging literally every single person. I'm like a needy girlfriend on Facebook or Twitter. I'm messaging people I haven't talked to in in years. And I'm like, I'm like that like MLM opportunity guy. You know what I mean? Like, you haven't talked to the guy in 3 years. He's checking it. Hey, how you doing? I found a business opportunity. I'm like, hey, how you doing? How's climbing going? I see you doing a lot of climbing. You want to go climbing this week? I messaged everybody that I could think of, trying to get somebody that wanted to go on this climb. Luckily, I messaged one of my good buddies, Jeremy Regato, phenomenal climber, super good guy, really like the guy. And he's like, I called him. I basically pitched him on it like I was pitching a company or something. I'm like, listen, bro, I'm going to drive, and listen, we're going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'll bring the food, like I'll lead the pitches. Like, dude, I'll carry all the heavy gear. Like, whatever you need, dude, I will do. Like, doing everything. I was like, I'll take some of your workload, whatever you need. Like, I desperately want this climb. And he's such a good guy. Like, I like, he probably wanted to go, but he definitely had to, like, he's busy with his own company and he's working. But thankfully, I think he felt sorry for me, and he saw how disappointed I was that I had been bailed on. And so he's like, okay, he's like, let's do it. Let's go Thursday. I'm like, yes. So we head out. We leave Calgary 1 a.m. on Thursday. We get to the parking lot, I don't know, 3 a.m. or something like that. It's minus 25 at the car. It's pitch blackout. It's like we're kind of like tired before we even start. But it is what it is. So we luckily we had borrowed these sick cross country skis from my buddy Jean, and they're the ones where they have like the fins on them. Like, you don't have to put skins; they already have the fins. And so we actually made a really good time with that. And we had. He had the Silverettas as well, the Silveretta bindings. So those are compatible with your mountaineering boots. So we didn't need to have another set of ski boots, which was awesome. And so we started cruising in to this climb. And I think it took us a while, maybe like 6 hours or something like that to make it in. So we got to the climb around like 9 o'clock. Yeah, because we left around 3 o'clock in the morning. So we got there around 9 o'clock, 9:30. And so we got there. Just like 17 kilometers skiing. And you go up and down and up and down and up. And I thought it was never going to end. And poor Jeremy, he kept having to stop because he was getting the barfies in his hands because it was so cold. While we were skiing, he's getting the barfies. And I was like, oh, hopefully it warms up because this is friggin' cold. So anyways, we finally get to the base of the climb. We're looking at it. This thing is like massive, but it's hard to like tell the size of it and the scope of it because you're kind of just looking at it and you're like, oh yeah, that doesn't look bad. You like go up that little section, and I'm looking at this like WI6 section, and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look that bad. It looks like, it looks pretty easy. I'm like, maybe like WI5, maybe, right? And so he starts up the first pitch and starts going. And then all of a sudden he stops like maybe like 3/4 of the way up the pitch, and he's like yelling and swearing or something, right? And I'm like, what the hell? And then he builds an anchor. And I'm like, what are you doing? Right? Like, why are you building an anchor there? Like, it's like go up like another 20 meters and then you're in like this cave, which is, where the end of the first pitch should be. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. So I get all my stuff, and Takakkaw is crazy because like, just at the base of it, there's this massive hole that's like, I don't know, it's got to be like 30 meters wide, 25 meters wide, maybe not that big, maybe 20, I don't know, something like that. But it's like, it never completely freezes because there's still flowing water, right? Even though it's minus 30, there's still flowing water underneath it. And there's this massive hole that if you fell in, you'd be gone. You'd be just sucked under. And you'd be frozen in time forever. Like, I don't know where you would pop out, but it would be, I don't know. You'd be under the river for a couple of years for sure. And anyway, so it's a little bit kind of scary going around that. But anyways, we go up. So I get up to the top of the first pitch that he had led, and I was like, hey, what happened? And he shows me, and his tool had like snapped in half, like the pick on it had snapped in half, and he has this little like stubby note for a tool. And he's like, hey man, do you happen to have like an extra pick on you? I'm like, no, I don't have an extra pick on me. And he's like, crap, man. He's like, I don't know what should we do? And I was like, well, it's up to you, but I'd really like to keep going. And he's like, yeah, for sure we could like swap tools. We could do some other things. And I was like, oh, it's all like, I think, I'll just lead the rest of it and you can just follow and I'll keep you tight. And I think I really had something to prove, at the time, because the one of the buddies that bailed on me was basically like, I don't think we should do it because I don't think either of us are skilled enough to do that pitch, and it's way above our pay grade. So at the time I had a little bit of chip on my shoulder, which sometimes is what you need to have a little bit of, motivation to push through some of the hard pitches. Like some of the greatest things you do is to prove other people wrong, right? Because you just want to like, well, yeah, you want to, outdo yourself and prove yourself wrong, but also prove other people wrong. And so I had this kind of chip on my shoulder, like, well, screw you then. I'm going to lead everything and I'll show you. So that's essentially kind of what happened. So after that, we got to below the cave, or at the cave, and then this was then the WI6 pitch. So I went up to it, didn't look that bad, got on it. Yeah, it was pretty full on. It was awesome climbing though. You're in this little chimney. You're climbing up it, super unprotectable. None of the screws are really good, kind of like falling apart a little bit. Unfortunately, my GoPro, I had like pushed my head in the snow somewhere. And so like all the footage that I have of this is like totally covered with snow. Because I think I would have got some really cool shots of like looking down this chimney, just like dead vertical, kind of crazy looking ice. Very fun though, very fun. Got to the top, like phenomenal day. Got to the top of that pitch. So we're about halfway now. And it just like the sun is out, the mountains are beautiful. It's one of the most like, I think it's just the isolation of it, just like there was not a soul for like 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers or more. Like we're just in the middle of the mountains. Nobody is around us. Nobody's even close. The sun is up. We're on this massive ice climb. And it was just very serendipitous. Is that the word? It's very serendipitous. Tranquil maybe is the word, but I don't know. It was just like one of those very spiritual moments where you're just like, this is what drives me to do these kind of days, like a combination of the long days and the isolation and being, by yourself and you're with a partner up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere with no one around you is, for me personally, like one of the best experiences that I can have. And it kind of all hit me, at the top of that second pitch. I was like, oh, this is what it's about. Like life is so good. Like this is it, right? This is some of the best climbing that you can possibly do, like technical pitches in the middle of nowhere in this like totally crazy landscape. Very beautiful moment. Probably like this is by far one of my favorite days of climbing just for that reason. Beautiful climb. So we finished it up. There was another 2 pitches, pretty crazy. Just like lots of like WI4. After that pitch, it was pretty cruisy. The rest of it was WI4. And then the last pitch. So we did like from the top of that Crux pitch, we did the full 70 meters, rope stretching. And then I brought him up. And then I did another 70 meters and I had to, this was right at like the mouth of the very top, and you could hear the waterfall like underneath the ice just rumbling. You can hear it just like vibrating this frozen waterfall that you're on, and it's super surreal, super awesome. We ended up having to simul climb the last maybe 10 or 15 meters. So the last pitch was like roughly, 80, 85 meters because it was the full 70 of rope. And then we signed with the last 10. The anchor at the very top, I think it's been replaced now, but it's like real shoddy, like some kind of nut and some bolt from the 80s. Like this thing is crazy. So yeah, brought Jeremy up. Once he got up, I was like, I'm done. I'm mentally done. Like you bring us down now. I'll just follow your rappels, but like mentally I'm fried. And he's like, no problem. So yeah, we got down. We started rappelling. We got our rope stuck on the second rappel. And we had to basically like both put our body weight into it and like pull it down at the same time with like a prusik. And that took us like an extra like 30 minutes or something to pull the rope. Luckily, it did come down after a while. It took quite a bit of effort to do that. And then, yeah, what a day. We started rappelling, finally got down. I think we got down around like 5:15 or something like that, 5:30. The sun was just setting. And we got our skis back on, got everything back on, and then just like put our head down. and it's just like, oh God, this is it. And so at the time I had started to get this like heel rash on my heel, like it was rubbing in my boots. And so I had it on the way in a little bit, and I had checked, and I was bleeding a little bit, but I didn't think anything of it. And then on the way out, it started to get like worse and worse. And so every single like step, like ski step, ski slide, I don't know what you call that, but every single step was like so painful. So I'm just like, ow, 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 every single time. And I just like, put your head down and just like work, don't think about it. But I was definitely going slower. And so Jeremy, and it's like, it's pitch black at this point, it's it rose to -10 during the day, beautiful temps, but then sun went down, boom, it went back down to -20, -25. We're just putting our head down and we're just like slogging our way out. So Jeremy would like go in front of me for a while because he was faster without his ankle or whatever, because I had this heel issue. And then he would stop and he would wait for me. And he did this so many times. And then one time I passed him and I thought he was just like, sitting there waiting for me, and he was taking an extra second. And then like 20 minutes go by and he catches up to me. And he's like, dude, I just fell asleep standing up. He's like, I literally passed out, and then I like woke up and it was like all dark around me and you were gone. So he like sped up to catch up to me. But like another, I don't know, 5 hours slog to get out, 5.5 hours, something like that. We got back to the car. I want to say it was like 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. So now we've been up for basically, almost 24 hours at that point. So we got in the car, just like destroyed. I think he had some scotch, which was really nice. We had some other food that we got, but I was like, okay, first stop, we got to make it to the Lake Louise gas station. And then we got to get back to Calgary. And so I'm usually pretty good when it comes to driving. Like I can do a long day and then just like, yep, no, I'm good. Put my head down and just go for it. So I was like, dude, no worries, man. Like I'm going to get us back to Calgary. No problem. So we drove to the Lake Louise gas station and we loaded up. We got like coffee, hot chocolate, food, snacks, everything, which is like the best thing to get after climbing. And we get in the car and I'm like, dude, I got us. No worries. Like you go ahead and pass out. And so he passes out. I start driving. Within like 20 minutes, I'm like, my eyes are like, I'm hitting myself in the head. I'm like smacking my face with both hands. I'm rolling the window down to get like fresh air in. I'm totally fucked, right? Like totally fucked. I'm like, oh my God, there's no way that I'm going to make it back to Calgary. So I think I made it like another 20 minutes. And then I pulled over and I was like, no, dude, I was like, I can't do it. Right. There's no way. I was like, you got to get us to Canmore. And he's like, okay, no problem. So as soon as I get in the passenger seat, I'm out like cold. And then I wake up, we're into Canmore now. And I'm like, okay, no worries. No, I got it. Don't worry. I'll get us back to Calgary. No problem. Literally, as soon as we leave Canmore, he's passed out cold snoring. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm driving. Within 10 minutes, I'm like, again, hitting myself in the head. I'm like hallucinating, staring at the road. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to get us to Calgary. And so I think I get us like another 40 minutes down the road. I pull over and he's like, what's going on, dude? I'm like, I can't get us to Calgary. There's no way, right? And he's like, okay, no worries. He comes out. He gets into the driver's seat. I get into the passenger seat. I'm out cold again, like within 1 second, snoring, done, right? I wake up. We're at a stoplight in Calgary, like maybe 10 minutes away from my house. And he's like waking me up. He's like, nope. He's like, dude, I can't do it. I cannot get us home. There's no way. So I'm like, okay, no worries. So we stopped at this stoplight. It's maybe like 2 o'clock in the morning at this point. I get out. There's another car at the stoplight at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's -25. He just sees this guy get out. I'm wearing like these. I always wear Uggs when I go climbing to get back in the car after. I get out. I probably just look like an insane person, like a drug addict. My eyes are just like gloopy. I'm fucked up. I'm totally fucked up. So I get in the driver's seat. I drive us home. Within 1 second, Jeremy's passed out cold. I get us back to the house. he still has to drive back to his house. I'm like, hey, good luck, drive safe. Anyways, I get inside, take a shower, go to bed. I end up looking, I'm going to put a picture up on the screen here for you. I end up looking at my feet the next day and they are thrashed, dude. My heels are like torn apart, like totally torn apart from this climb. Actually, I end up patching them. I climb virtual reality, I think 2 days later. I do a little patch job. I'll show some pictures here on the screen. But anyways, this was by and far one of the coolest climbs, just coolest days, like really awesome climbing, the isolation, the long day, the suffering. Like I love that type of climbing. So if you haven't, if you want to do Takakkaw, I would put it super high on your list. It's a phenomenal climb if you get around, if it's in condition, you get around to doing it. So anyways, I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one.